Hello and welcome back to our podcast. Welcome to Sisters Back. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had an amazing week. So today's topic is going to be interesting. I feel like it's an interesting topic today. So with me is my co-host, Carnation. I should introduce you.
Yes, because some people don't know me. Yeah, my name is Carnation.
Her name is Carnation and my name is Ropa. So we're back to bring you another exciting topic. I feel like this is a topic where a lot of people are very guarded about their budget, right? Like when you talk to people about budgets, so when you talk about budgets, people don't normally want to give out the what they do. They don't want to give out they want to talk about it. I don't know, is it just me, or I kind of feel like whenever I ask, so how do you budget? What's your budget? Just so that at least I can get an idea. Nobody wants to talk about it.
Well, I think for me, it's not that I don't want to talk. Well, I don't want to talk about it because I don't have one. I think I've always skirted away from a budget. For mine, it's been loosey-goosey because it feels budget, diet, it feels very restricted, right? And so I've operated for a long time with a loosey-goosey type of budget. But I've never had that experience, maybe because I haven't asked people, but that's a shame that people don't want to share, right?
Yeah, nobody wants to, or maybe it's because nobody has it down packed. And I'm not saying I have it.
That's the thing. It's loosey-goosey, it's all in your head, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you know, budget here. I know this is on my budget. There's just a few people that I know who have like a strict budget and they follow it to the T. Mm-hmm. Everybody else is like, oh my God, I spent this on clothes yesterday. I feel, I'm disgusted with myself. I spent this on clothes. Was it not on your budget? I guess not.
I'm not judging. My weakness is winners.
No, I can't judge either.
It's a beauty products, section. I can go there and spend half a day just looking. Mm-hmm. And I come out, with stuff that I didn't intend on buying. And then I say to myself, I'm not going to buy for, another 6 months. 2 weeks later, I'm back and I'm picking something again. So I think maybe the reason why, how do I say this? People don't talk about it is because I feel like, for instance, the people that have experienced, I feel like people make a budget for a reason. And once that reason is achieved, then they stop, right? Maybe you're budgeting because you want to go on a trip. And once you've done the trip, then, it falls off. So maybe that's part of the reason, right? That it's for a short amount of time.
Yeah, for a short amount of time. Mm-hmm. So, we looked into budgeting and whatnot. So I guess I should ask you, what's the 101 on budgeting?
Okay, I always like to start with definitions because then I feel like it guides my discussion. Okay. So, based on the research I did is, a budget is an estimate of income and expenditure for a set period of time. And the key is with present dollars. So you're budgeting based on your income, not future income, not a credit card. You're budgeting based on present dollars. And it's, a budget requires you to plan ahead. That saying, Ropa, that goes, if you plan, how does it go? Operating, I guess, without a plan is setting you up for failing, right? So if you just operate loosey-goosey, you don't have borders or boundaries in terms of how to operate. And it's the same thing with your money. If you have money and you're not planning your financial path well, there's a high likelihood that you will fail, right? So do you know the saying? I think it's really pertinent.
No.
If you...
I don't know.
Failing to plan failing to plan is planning to fail. So it's the same thing with the budget. I think if you don't plan how to use your money, you're likely to fall off the rail, right? So, yeah.
That's true. That's if you have goals. If you don't have goals, you're not really planning to go anywhere, to do anything, technically. But there's so many reasons why a budget is important. For example, you're trying to meet your goal, like you were saying initially in the beginning, that sometimes people budget for a certain something. And then once that goal has been achieved, they stop. And there's also people who plan for, let's say, a lifetime. Let's say if you're at a certain age, you're now thinking about retirement, you're now thinking about, long-term goals, long-term investments, and long-term this and that, and all of those things need money. And there's also like emergencies and all that kind of stuff, right? Those are some of the things that some people don't think about. A lot of people do, right? Where they know that an emergency can happen. Your car could break down and you need to have money on hand to fix it so you can go to work or whatever it is. So there's so many reasons why people kind of budget. I'm just trying to figure out, or I'm trying to see, what does a perfect budget, not a perfect budget, look like? Or what does like a layout of a simple budget look like? Because a lot of people struggle with budgeting, right?
Yeah.
So what are the things to think about when you're starting to budget?
So I bank with RBC, and I'm going to draw an example from that, where within like RBC, they have a money tracker that shows where your money has been going, right? And so based on the research that I did was, say for instance, you make about $6,000 a month, and then you decide, you know what, I want to spend this money on my necessary expenses, but I also want to put some money aside, and I want to be disciplined in terms of how I do things. So the first thing that you need to do is look at your monthly spending for a period of 3 months. And you do this by essentially looking at your financial, not financial statements, but your bank statements, your monthly statements, because that will show you, especially if I think a lot of people use their debit card for a lot of things. And I think most of your expenditures and your payments are pretty clear on the statement. So you print out or you look at your monthly statements for 3 months. And then from that, you come up with categories. So you do a category for essentials, right? So essentials are things like, your rent, your mortgage, utilities, car payments. And then you do another category for security. So security is emergency funds. And I think we've talked about this one extensively, well, between you and I, right? And then the next category is you put a section for goals. So goals can be going for vacation in Japan next year, or buying your own home, or even buying a car. And then after that, then you do a section for lifestyle expenses. So lifestyle expenses are, things that you do socially, maybe personal grooming, buying clothes for friends and gifts and that kind of thing. And then the last category is discretionary spending. Spending. And so that's for things like a massage or eating out or, that kind of thing. So that's what I've found so far, that you do categories first, and then you put how much money you've been spending in all those categories.
Okay. I have a simpler, not a simpler one, but it's in the categories, but it's not in the same format or in the same format that you were mentioning, right? So when I start, and I'm not perfect with this, obviously, but when I start budgeting, I do the same thing. I look at my bank account, my bank statement, to take a look at you know, what I've been spending so that I can come up with a budget. And then throughout the month, I will be putting the actuals. So I've come up with a budget of, you know, in the categories, let's say the categories that you've mentioned. There's the income category, there's the expenses category. Let me see if I can share my screen, just 2 seconds here. Okay, can you see my screen?
It's sharing, but I don't. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I can see it now.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I have different tabs, right? So let's say the current month tab or the current year, I would have, let's say this is the current month, this budget portion of it, I've looked at my bank statement, I've looked at how much, you know, everything costs. So I've put in, you know, in terms of like my salary. So these are all hypothetical numbers that I've come up. I was trying to come up with like a spreadsheet and all that kind of stuff. So let's say this is my semi-monthly amounts. Let's say this is my, you know, second source of income type amounts. And I put it all up in, you know, income, in the income category. And then after that, I've got expenses. So you've got expenses that are your needs. And then there's also your wants as well. So your needs are like, you know, your rent, your phone, your this and that or whatever. So all of this, you've looked at your bank statements. This is what you normally pay for your phone bill. This is what you normally pay for your utilities. And over the course of the month, when things are coming in, under your actuals, that's when you're actually putting, okay, this is what I actually got. This is what I actually paid. This is what I, whatever. So sometimes your budget versus your actual is not always going to be the same, but at least it helps you track where you are, right? So either you are spending less on entertainment, or there's going to be months where you spend more depending on what you do or where you're gonna go type of thing. And then after that, there's savings, like Kanisha was saying, like you start looking at, you know, your emergency funds and everything. So I've portioned it into, you know, temporary savings where you're saving for your property taxes, you're saving for your, you know, car insurance. Some people pay car insurance once a year. Some people paid monthly, so whatever works. It said that it's going to be here or it's going to be up here under expenses. And then, you know, so you kind of break it down like that. And then now you've got your actuals. So what I normally do is I have goals in terms of how much I want as my my emergency fund type of thing, my short-term, my long-term emergency fund. How much do I want in there? And that's going to determine.
Sorry, Robert, so I have a question. So what you do is you, instead of looking at your bank statements, sorry, maybe I missed how do you come up with your current month budget amounts? It's based on what you're planning on spending?
No, my current month budget amounts is dependent on what I've spent in the past. So I'll look at my bank statement for the last 3 months.
Oh, so you do that as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at my bank statement for the last 3 months. Okay, average, this is how much I've been spending on this. This is how much I've been spending on that. And so hypothetically, you know, week 1, week 2, whatever, cupcake business. I don't have a cupcake business, but I wanted to put it on there just so that at least, you know, we see what it could look like type of thing. And let's say you've got a room and you want extra money, you could rent out your room type of thing, right? So those are all kind of sources of income. And so these numbers, you've come up with those numbers based on the average of the last 3 months in your bank statement. this does not include, I should have included bank fees in here somewhere, but bank fees should be included. You should account for every
expense, every dollar. Yeah, every dollar should be accounted for.
Should be accounted for. And if there are extras, let's say there are extras on here that, let's say you were supposed to spend, like here you spent, you budgeted $100, but you ended up spending 105. Yeah. That means it's gonna have to come from somewhere, right? And then here you budgeted 100, but you ended up only spending 40. So it kind of like all matches up at the end of the day. So you're gonna go your income, subtract your expenses, and that's gonna bring you to how much you've spent and how much you've got left over. So what you're supposed to do is like, you're supposed to plan your kind of like pay yourself first. That's what they say, pay yourself first before anything else. So you got to plan your savings and your everything else first. And whatever is left over up here that you did not spend can always go down here, depending on where you want to go.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. So I guess if one month my expenses, or I got some, some breaks in terms of my regular amounts that I pay, then whatever you get as a positive, then you put it into, like, you just choose, I guess, a way to put it in terms of savings.
Yeah. So
instead of buying a new dress, right?
Yeah, instead of buying a new dress, because you already have a new dress budgeted already anyway in your either miscellaneous fund type of thing. So here it's just kind of gives you like a rundown of what you would have. So basically you kind of, if you're doing this, you're able to probably track many years, and you can even do an analysis and go, okay, so I've been spending this amount here. I can probably spend less. What is it saying here? I can probably spend less, with this. So what I normally do is I put goals here. Mm-hmm. Okay, so my goal for my emergency fund, I want it to be $50,000 at the end of the day. 10,000 of that will be my temporary, my immediate short-term emergency funds. Something happens with my car, all of a sudden I need to go do something, some emergency happened, $10,000 probably will cut it. And then the rest of it can actually be like your emergency fund. Okay, maybe you lose your job and you need to pull from that, right? And then you also have like a vacation fund. Maybe this is the amount of money that you want every single year to go on vacation. So you can take a look at what does that look like. Then you've got, like, let's say you want to get a new car or a new furniture or something like that. Let's say $22 million is your retirement fund. So you have to have, the reason why I say you have to have goals is because if you don't have a goal for the stash that you're accumulating, after a while, you're gonna just spend it because there's no goal. There's no reason why you are accumulating this amount of money.
Yeah, because also, what I was reading as well was, it's not enough to say I'm budgeting and the budget is in your head. When you actually write it down, it becomes real and you're able to see, okay, you know what? I'm buying Starbucks every day, how much money is going towards Starbucks, right? Mm-hmm. You're able to see where, I guess, you're bleeding money and adjust accordingly. And also, I think if you have goals, then you're able to say, well, I want to buy a house in 2 years. Do I need those extra pair of shoes, that I found on sale? And sometimes you can find something, I don't know, maybe it's $100 pair and, it's down to $40. And you say, well, you know what? I got a smoking deal. It could be a smoking deal, but that $40 could have been added to something that's more worthwhile, right? And so It's really important. I think for me, I've been operating with a budget in my head. When it comes to savings, what I have done is through the bank, I've decided on a certain percentage that comes off every paycheck, and then it goes into a savings account. Right. So you really need to be intentional. Otherwise, you won't even know, I guess, where you're bleeding money. So yeah, I like what you did there. Very detailed and very organized.
Yeah, you never know. And I find a lot of times I been doing that I did that in the past, where I would accumulate a certain amount of money, and because I didn't have a vision for, you know, where I wanted to go with it, I find out, you know, something happens and, oh, you know what, I have the money, I can just, you know, pay for this without being intentional. So now that I'm intentional, and I think it's important to have goals and tie those goals to your, you know, to your money goals as well. To go like, okay, well, eventually in the future, I want to buy a house. So how much do I want to pay as a down payment for that house? Do I want to pay the 10%, or do I want to pay 25% so I can skip the what is that?
CMHI.
Yeah, exactly. So I can skip that. So then what does that look like? Then now you wanna, okay, I wanna buy a house in 4 years. So in 4 years, if I save up with the type of house that I want, so 25% will be this amount of money every single year. And you intentionally save up for that. And then there's also like, you know, investments, because a lot of people say you shouldn't keep your big stash of money in your bank account. You should at least invest it. What does that look like?
I actually had that on my list as well, that, you know, once you have come up with the different categories that I mentioned, then you also need an investment. And what I did is I actually broke it down into two. So social investment, I'll explain that one. And then, you know, you pick a portfolio that you're comfortable with. So it's really important not to go with the crowd. You can't say, oh, you know what, everyone is in crypto right now, I should. It's fine to do it, but understand what you're investing in. And it also depends whether you want an aggressive, you know, investment. So then you pick stocks that have high yield, but they're risky. Or you want your money guaranteed, then you pick stocks, whatever they are, you know, that are low risk. So a smaller return in terms of the percentage, but they're more guaranteed. And you know, right now, you know, I mean, since we're mentioning it, you know, there's crypto, there's also sustainable type of stocks. So those sustainable type of stocks are, I think they consider them green stocks. So if you're someone, you know, who's really conscious about the environment and investing responsibly, you know, look into green stocks, you know, find something that aligns with your values. But I wanted to, for me, it's sharing in terms of social investments. And by social investments, I actually mean investing in people, right? You know, there are a lot of, and this could be controversial, but I'll still say it anyway. There are organizations that do good. And you kind of have to pick something that aligns with your values. Where you can't go, your money can go. And I've found, I guess, in my experience, when you invest money in causes that, you know, are designed to do good, I end up finding like random amounts of money, right? And then that money I'm able to put into my savings. So it's not for everyone, and I'm not going on a soapbox that you should invest in social investment, so to speak, but that's a way for your money to work for you, I mean, because it returns to you in the most unexpected way. And it's only something.
Sorry, is this where you get like a return on investment, like investing in company stocks or something, or?
No, social investments. I think for me, since I graduated.
Or is it charity? Sorry, I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, so okay. Charity, yeah. So for me, you know, since I graduated from university, you know, it's controversial, I chose World Vision, right? Because that's all I knew at that point. But it's returned yields for me in the most unexpected way. right? At the end of the day, to each his own. But I thought that was, worth mentioning in terms of social investment.
Yeah.
That's what
And that makes sense. And actually, there's also investing in companies as well. There's some companies that are coming up that are looking for investments. You can buy shares in certain companies. Like if you're the type of person who needs a return on your investment, or something that you can actually track, so you can invest in some companies. There's a lot of companies coming up that have really, really good ideas that are just looking for investors to invest as well. And there are also group investments where people come together, bring money together type of thing, and invest in a specific company to be able to, get a return, get a dividend back on their monies as well. And then there's also investing in yourself, education. Go to take those classes that will help you in the future to, make more money or be able to take advantage of certain opportunities, because now you have investment, you have the qualifications that you need. So investing doesn't always mean you get cash back. You might actually get experience back. You might actually get like fulfillment back, or you might be able to get, the knowledge or the experience that you need to be able to go, get more money, type of thing. So
yeah. And did we talk about putting money aside? You talked about putting money aside for your retirement, right? And so, RRSP, not everyone is a fan of it, but what I find is if you tuck in enough, you're able to.
So we're talking about RRSPs, and then the recording just cut off. But anyway, we had reached the end of our discussion. Hopefully this budget topic was able to help a few people. I know it helped me when we're looking at, budgets, and we're looking at all that good stuff. So hopefully that kind of gave people who are trying to, be more disciplined with their budgets. Yeah, budgeting gives you a bit more freedom than you would if you did not budget, because your money just disappears and you don't really know where the money went. But if you're budgeting, you have a bit more freedom, and you're not stressed out as much as you would be. You don't have more of the month at the end of the money. You would have more of the money at the end of the month type of thing. And also you will rest easy knowing that if anything happens, you will be able to reasonably take care of it or handle it. You know what I mean? There's nothing as stressful as, having an emergency and not being able to not having anything to be able to, help the situation. Or, there's so many things that happen just unexpectedly that we don't expect, because it's an emergency, right? That's why it's an emergency. You need to be able to plan for those things, and also be able to rest easy knowing that's one less stress in your life, right? Knowing that at least I have something to fall back on if anything happens, right? And always continue to, find those opportunities, always continue to find all those, like, sources of income, so that you don't have to stress over anything, so that you can be more proactive as opposed to being reactive all the time, right? Because a lot of us are always reactive. Oh no, I need to pay the electricity bill. They're going to cut off my electricity. And now you're reacting towards it. But if these are the things that you budget for and, put in motion and intentionally budget for those, you won't have to stress over these things. It's not going to be something that you will have to go through if it's avoidable. You know what I mean? So anyway, you guys have a great week. Talk to you later. Thank you for tuning into As Sisters Back, and hopefully, you know, we'll come back next month, and hopefully you guys can talk to us about your budgets. Just, we need to hear from you. We need to hear how you budget. We want to hear what you think. So feel free to, you know, put something in the comments below. And at the same time, you know, let's all learn together. Let's all grow together, and let's all thrive together. Have a great, great, great week. See you later. Bye.